10mm socket and ratchet, we're going to go ahead and loosen and remove our battery terminals. We're going to use a pick to release our little lock here. You just press down on this little tab right here and disconnect that. Go ahead and set your harness bracket aside here like that. I'm going to loosen our oil cap, remove this. Let's go ahead and pop off our engine cover here. Reinstall our oil fill cap and set the cover aside. On the passenger side lower corner of the radiator is your drain plug. You want to have your drain bucket underneath. And we're going to turn our drain plug counterclockwise. It's a little tight and sometimes can be a little tough to get into. You probably use a pair of pliers. Get in there to assist you with turning this. Now once we're done draining, go ahead and reach back up and we're going to tighten up that drain plug by turning it clockwise and get that snug. Using a 13mm socket and extension, we're going to remove this bolt for this bracket. Once that bolt is out, it's going to give us immediate access to the front of the water pump. Using a 10mm wrench, we're going to go ahead and just loosen the water pump pulley bolts. With all four of those loose, let's go ahead and release the tension on the tensioner. I'm going to use our ratchet on the front of the tensioner. I'm going to push that forward. It's going to release the tension on that belt, release our serpentine belt, and then release the tensioner. Now go ahead and remove the belt. All your accessories here. If you want to, you can take a picture of the front of the motor so you remember the belt routing. This has 9 pulleys on here. Can be confusing when you go to reassemble. Take a picture. You can do a drawing. It's best to document the route so you don't take a 10-minute job and turn it into a 2-hour job. Let's go ahead and remove our bolts from the water pump pulley. Just rotate that and get your finger behind there and try and work that pulley off. Might take 2 hands. There you go. Using a 13mm deep socket, let's remove the 5 bolts holding the water pump in place. You also want to have a catch can underneath because once this is loose, coolant will be leaking out. Okay, grab that water pump and remove that. Take your new water pump and your gasket. You want to make sure you line this up. We're going to put a bolt through. Let's go ahead and line this up here on the engine and we'll get that bolt started. And we already went ahead and cleaned up the engine block by using some solvent. Get this lined up. Once we get that one bolt in, we'll go ahead and proceed with the rest of the bolts. Go ahead and snug these bolts down. Let's go ahead and torque these down to 18 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and get our water pump pulley lined up. Going to get all 4 of the bolts started here. Now we just want to go ahead and snug those down a little bit. I'm just going to snug those. We'll come back and torque them down once the belt is on. Let's go ahead and install our belt. This is the point where your picture that you may have taken earlier will come in handy, or your drawing. Now that we have the belt run around almost all of our pulleys, we have it off of our idler pulley right here. We're going to bring up the tensioner, and then we're going to pull this belt and put it underneath this idler pulley here. Now that we have the belt on, you want to go around to each pulley, make sure the belt is in all of the grooves properly. Power steering, idler, alternator, tensioner, idler, water pump, crankshaft, AC, and idler. Everything looks good. Go ahead and torque our water pump pulley bolts to 18 foot-pounds. So I'm just using a pry tool between one of the bolt heads and the center shaft right here, just to keep the pulley from spinning. We just need to torque these down to 18 foot-pounds, which isn't a lot. Just gonna get our bracket lined up here, get that bolt installed. Now what we're tightening here is just a bracket for our power steering. Once you feel that bolt bottom out, once you feel it bottom out, just a little bit more. You want that snug. Just going to install our ground terminal here. Bring our positive terminal over. Go ahead and snug down our terminal here. I'm going to check these terminals, make sure they're nice and tight. And place our boot back on the top here. Let's go ahead and connect our connector here. Line that up, press that on. You'll feel it click into place. Then you want to press on our little gray lock tab, lock that down. We're going to come on over to our radiator cap. We're going to open this up. I'm going to spin this off. I'm going to get ready to fill this. This is a GM motor here. We want to go ahead and use the recommended coolant for the system, which would be your Dex Cool. And we're going to spin on our adapter here and put our funnel on. I'm going to go ahead and slowly fill this up until the spout has coolant added. So keep on filling this up. Use your appropriate mix, 50-50, and the coolant that is required for your model application. While filling this up, you want to also go ahead and periodically look underneath for any leaks. Now on our particular application here with our reservoir, we can go ahead and fill this up, let the coolant sit here. If you don't have the style here, what you're going to do is fill up to the top of the neck here, and you're going to put your cap on loosely. You don't want to secure it. As the engine heats up, it's going to build up pressure, and you do not want to remove this cap when there's hot pressure built up there. What we're going to do next is start the vehicle. We're going to let it run. Going to bring it up to about 2,500 RPMs for about 40 seconds, and then let it come back to idle. And we're going to do this 3 times. Going to watch for the coolant to purge or bubble and let any air pockets come out. Then we're going to come back around and go ahead and add coolant as necessary. Now once we get this vehicle up to operating temperature, the thermostat should open up and absorb the rest of this coolant here. Once we're all set and this thermostat has opened up and our coolant is gone, we can go ahead and remove our funnel here and put our cap back on. Now from inside the vehicle, you want to go ahead and set the temperature to hot. You can set it on whichever you want, but I choose the face and the floor, and we're going to turn the heat on max. At this point here, after cycling the throttle back and forth a few times, bring the RPMs up, you want to go ahead and check for heat. Make sure that you have good, solid heat coming out of these vents. If it's still blowing cold, chances are the thermostat isn't open yet and you're not up to operating temperature. You want to leave this circulating for a little while. What we're going to do is plug up our funnel. And go ahead and release this here. Just going to catch any residual coolant coming up. Go ahead and remove our fill cap here. I'm just going to put some towels around here so we don't dribble any coolant onto our belt. Once that's off, go ahead and put our cap on and go ahead and tighten that down. Go ahead and pop the cap. You can use a nice clean funnel. Go ahead and fill the reservoir or expansion tank to the fill line. It is clearly marked on the side of the tank. Using the appropriate coolant, once that's filled up to the appropriate line, we'll go ahead and pop our cap on. So now that we have the reservoir filled, I want to go ahead and start up the vehicle, let it run again, maybe drive it around the block, get it warmed up nice. At that point there, you want to go ahead and open the hood and check the expansion tank. See if the fluid is below the full line. If it is low, simply repeat the process by opening up this cap, fill the reservoir to the appropriate line, and then pop the cap back on. I'm going to pop off our oil fill here.